Who want a ticket straight to them pearly gates?
I had to make this video 3 times, and oh boy, each time I make it, more and more of my soul is crushed. But that's what happens when you want to get the story right and you want to get the story accurate. The first time I made this video, I uploaded it on the channel and it was titled Bandai Namco's New Plan is Another Bad Decision. And in this video, I was talking about this viral post. It's a few that was going around, and basically Bandai Namco, so we thought at the time, they were going all in on DE&I. And I was saying that's a bad decision because if you look at all the other games that's doing it, Conquer, Dustborn, you know, in my past versions of videos, I had examples and stuff. I don't know if I'll be able to do that this time, but you could just see that basically it's just not a good decision. Everyone laughs at it, everyone memes on it, and the company ends up losing a lot of money. I think fighting games do a good job of DE&I without even trying. And what I mean by that is when you look at their roster of characters, Tekken had 32 at the start. That roster was very diverse. Characters from all over the world, characters from all different backgrounds, ethnicities, and blah, 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 right? They don't need to force DE&I because they do it naturally, just trying to make a roster of 30-something characters amazing. So they don't need to go over the top. And I feel like a lot of companies don't need to go over the top. Just be normal with your depictions of characters and the way you portray characters. When you go extra, that's when it turns into a circus and people start to laugh. I want to talk about these 2 screenshots that was floating around and Harada's response to it. But on a side note, I do want to talk about me deleting videos. I didn't know this would turn into some crazy thing. You know, I upload a video and I take it down. And then I've been doing that over the past couple of months, and I thought no big deal. But a lot of people were like, Moonsault, why are you taking down videos? You know, don't do that. And there's a few reasons why. One, either like I make a bad video and I just own up to it and I'm like, okay, this video sucks. Everyone in the comment section is saying it sucks, and then I take it down, right? Or a flip side of it is like either the video is just wrong, or what I do as well a lot of the times, which I'll try to not do anymore, but sometimes I upload videos accidentally and I'm like, oops, I gotta take that down. So those are the 3 types of videos that I upload and then take down. But yeah, I'll try to cut that down to a minimum so you guys aren't wondering what happened to this video, what happened to that video, and so on and so forth. But when we talk about these actual examples of chaos, I'll start off with this one because this one is juicy. And when I say juicy, I mean juicy. Okay, let me chill. So you had this viral post. It says Japan on the left, it says Korea on the right. On the right, you have these 2 pictures of these, you know, beautiful, juicy women, and this is what all the gamers of the world want, right? You can see the games that are, it's kind of like a divide, right? You have the games that are doing a DE&I, and you have the games who are kind of fighting back, and they're making their characters and their whole game as sexual as possible, and those 2 are colliding. The gamers are siding with the right, the gaming journalists are siding with the left. But you see, here's the thing, the gaming journalists, no matter how much they love something or how much they approve of something, they cannot make that company $1 billion, right? The only people who can do that are the fans, and the fans don't really listen to gaming journalists. So the companies, in my opinion, shouldn't listen to the gaming journalists either. So that's kind of an issue of this conversation as well. But when we focus on this news article, the one that says Japan, it says Bandai Namco localization team admits they ordered Japanese devs to censor their female characters' designs. We'll tell them that the cleavage is a bit too exposed or the skirts is too short. This is a news article that a lot of people were sending around saying, haha, look at Tekken, Tekken's like a bad game or whatever, right? And then this made Harada come out and respond to the whole thing. After he was quote tweeted and tagged by someone else, he eventually came on and said, I myself never heard of these names, and our designs are all based on our own decisions. This is also clear if you read the original article and look at Tekken 8. We may weigh the community standards against what we want to express, but we do not base our own standards on following or not following any specific. The same thing that we just read, Bandai Namco Europe's senior localization manager, Frank Gentry, his name only appears in 1 news article, and that's the news article we're watching right now. So that proves in fact that this person is not real. But to prove that Harada is like saying, what do you mean? There's 2 examples. There was a Native American person at the start of Tekken 8 who was upset about the way that Julia was portrayed in past Tekken games. They caught Harada lacking somewhere in public, and they were showing him all this stuff about Native American Americans and how they're dressed today, and basically Julia is offensive. And this made Harada go on Twitter and ask people like, okay, how do you guys feel about her design? Give me your feedback. How do you think the character should be designed? That was one example of him kind of like, but also he was saying too, like, you know, if I want to say that this character is Native American and I want to express that, how can I do that without being like, oh, you're, you know, this is a stereotype, or this is, you know, how can I express that? Because when we talk about the 32 character roster, right, I think Azazina is a good example. She has a lot of like cultural, like just attire, like patterns and colors and stuff. I think the people of Peru see that as like a celebration and not as like a mockery or like a stereotype, right? So he's basically saying to the Native American Tekken player base and people who like Julia, how can I express that without stepping on any toes? Another example of where he was kind of talking about players' designs, I believe it was Josie or maybe Lucky Chloe for Tekken 7, but during that era, those two characters got a lot of negative feedback, and people were telling him to change this, to change that, to do this, to do that. And Harada's response was, I'm not going to jump through all these hoops. I'm going to make the character that I want to make, and if I can't make that, then I won't make the character at all. I think that's the correct way to go about it. Like, if people are looking at your art, your celebration as a negative thing, I mean, you don't have to make a character for that region of the world or that player base or whatever, right? You could just make another character. I'm just telling you guys these two different stories of the past so you can see that Harada really means what he says here. There is another tweet. Someone says, Harada, please ignore this propaganda. There's a new wave of people on Twitter creating fake articles stating developers are either blank to feminist or free to be manly. And Harada says, I'm not responding to propaganda. I'm just asserting the process we actually follow in response to the false perceptions and misleading conveyances. Now we have one more tweet from Harada, then we'll shift topics and talk about the next DE&I situation that was pretty big for Tekken. Harada responded to that as well. This person says, nobody like these type of folks. They don't add anything useful to the conversation aside from a bunch of Guso opinions and weird, deranged conspiracies. Harada responds to this and says, I'm not going to block as much as possible to hear all opinions, but I do mute people who are clearly, you are not, in parentheses, you are not a customer and are making claims based on obvious misunderstandings. He then goes on to say, the nice thing about the mutes is that a person is unaware they're being muted. And this is something that I like as well, something that I do. When someone disagrees with me, I don't want to, block them or ban them or, try to take away their ability to speak. I like to hear the negative feedback so that way I can try to do better, right? When the comment section is saying, Moonsault, this video sucks, I try to ask people like, okay, what specifically about it was wrong? And even if I still walk away believing whatever I believe, at least I understand like more about, it's a discussion, right? I don't like the silencing of one person just because they disagree with you. And I like that Harada kind of keeps that same logic going. And also too, on a side note, I think Tekken fans, we should be very proud that we have this much access to the guy all the way at the top. You cannot say that for like a Call of Duty, a Fortnite, or Overwatch. Who do those guys go on Twitter and complain to? Okay, but let's keep going. Now you have this DE&I picture here. There's another screenshot here where this same lady is talking about all of these genders: transgender, cisgender, xgender X, queer, and questioning. You also have this, which has a little bit more information on it. I'll just read the quotes. It says, not being represented not only means that the need of self-expression is not met, but it also may identify as many players are not imagined. In parentheses with green highlight, I realize that I'm not expressing something may nullify the existence of a certain person, even before it leads to discrimination. So this is about blue protocol, but you can see here they're talking about including everyone, which me personally, bro, I don't have no problem with that. I think, like I said, I think fighting games do it naturally, so there is no reason to force, like, try to represent everyone. But we have another one here as well, and in my past videos, I was looking at all of these different bullet points, and I was talking about how it relates to Tekken. Basically, this person is saying that Bandai Namco's major audience, or majority of the audience, is from Western players. That's Europe and that's America, right? And if they want to capture that audience, they then have to reach out out to those players, and one way to do that is DEI. And the 4 bullet points they have listed is about character hair, which I was talking about. Look at Eddie's hair. He has the black guy overused hairstyle. And I was also talking about Reina, how Reina has the purple hair. That's also like something that's overused. You could talk about character gender. You could talk about Leo, how they refuse to say what the character gender is, even though it's actively hurting the character. The character has far less customizations than everyone because they refuse to give her customization that will, you know, specify what her gender is. And the reason why I say Leo's a girl, just because when she was originally announced, she was a girl, right?
So the real name, Eleanor Gleason is the real name. So Leo was a female, actually.
In Germany, like 14 years ago now, they said Leo's a girl. So for me, it's just easier if I say her. Differences in cultures and values. This is something that fighting games does naturally. You talk about each character coming from a different region of the world, and so on and so forth. And then the last one is accessibility. This is something that Tekken 8 tried as well. When they had the whole visual thing, it kind of backfired because the visuals that they tried to add into the game were actually getting people migraines, so they had to tone it down a little bit. But like I said, in my past videos, I was just talking about how these 4 bullet points, in one way or another, you can connect it to Tekken 8 and say Tekken 8 has tried this one time or another. But here's where Harada steps in and responds to this. You have this person here who says Bandai Namco recently announced a DEI training program in addition to researching similar concepts since 2020, and stated that their site, the misinformation is presenting a developer's word somehow nullifies the companies openly adopting these initiatives. There's a lot going on in these pictures that's linked here. It goes, bro, it's like a rabbit hole. It just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. But we talked about the 2 news articles. There was also this post that originally sparked it, basically, you know, calling Bandai Namco out for DE&I. You have Mighty Keith, who was basically saying that Harada called all these guys out for running with this fake news article. I did research on that news article, and you can see that the person who was a part of it doesn't exist, right? The person who gave this quote that everyone was using as a weapon, it doesn't exist. So it's a fake person making a statement on behalf of Bandai Namco and a fake news website. So it's just fake upon fake upon fake. But once we pull out a little bit more, you then have this other screenshot. It's basically another screenshot for Bandai Namco from 2020 where it talks about social issues using games, political correctness, and recommending diversity and inclusion. Now, Harada responds to this. I know it's kind of confusing, but basically there's a lot of accusations being thrown around at Bandai Namco, and Harada is doing his best to just go around and say the truth. He says, have you ever seen the context of the session? It's almost exact opposite of what you've been misinterpreting. How am I plagued by political anything, and how I avoid those mistakes? That's what we're talking about in this damn session. So to break it down very, very simply, Harada is talking about in these, you know, many different things on how they avoid like political topics and political drama, and then people were using these news articles and these screenshots and these interviews and fake stuff as well, like 4 years later, to try to say that Bandai Namco is doing what they're trying to prevent. Right? It's a weird like rabbit hole, and it's so Twitter. This is how Twitter is, right? Twitter will use fake stuff, they'll use real stuff, they'll use old stuff, they'll just use whatever to try to paint a narrative and stick it to you. And then it's up for you to like clean it up and try to tell the full story, right? Now here's another thing from Harada, and I think this is actually really important. Someone says, maybe you recognize these names then. What about the designs? Was it your decision to make Eddie less Brazilian and more BLM? Was it your decision to give every girl except Azazina the same swimsuit? And Harada responds to it with simply attaching his statement that I read at the top, where he's basically saying all of his decisions are his own. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, but that's it. Thank you for watching, and bye.